Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation bringing you guys a game between Fnatic and No Tide Hunter. I'm Blaze and very excited to bring you guys this game too. No Tide taking game one so strongly, just pretty much relentless in their pressure that they put out, drafted very nicely there, and despite an unorthodox PA pick, just played it extremely well, and in the end they take the game in 18 friggin' minutes. They're pushing, they're ganking, they're winning team fights, and I gotta say, if I didn't really get over to my MVP of that game specifically, but S4 on that Batrider, starting off with helping out on that gank on Trixie, that was the first blood, and just following on through, they kind of just built up this momentum that Fnatic didn't have an answer for. They picked late game carries such as the Alchemist and the Phantom Lancer, and they just didn't get to that point. So here we go, and going on into game two. I'm sure Fnatic has more tricks up their sleeves, as they always do, but we'll see exactly how this is going to play on out. So we do see, starting things off, the Darkseer is going to be banned out. Kind of standard, but also kind of unorthodox in the sense that there are three of the most powerful supports, and actually four if you count EGM's Shadow Demon. There's the Keeper Light, the Nyx Assassin, and the Wisp available there, and by starting off with a Darkseer ban, it implies that you want to take one of those for first pick, and you're going to try to go a kind of a pseudo-throwaway ban. Darkseer is still frustrating to go up against, but with Fnatic now banning out the Lone Druid, there's a good possibility of at least the Keeper Light getting out just as last time, but also moving on into maybe possibly a Guardian Wisp, which would easily set the pace for another very quick gank-oriented, momentum-based game. So we'll see how that plays out, but for the moment, No Tide Hunter has to make a difficult decision. They do have a first pick available, and they are going to obviously try to use it as effectively as possible here, but if they don't want to ban out either the Nyx or the Keeper Light, they can pick up one of those two up for themselves, and they can put themselves in a really great spot. So we'll see. Fnatic most likely going to ban out the Guardian Wisp, not letting that go in the hands of No Tide, but that's obviously remains to be seen how they want to play that one out. But as I said, Shadow Demon really powerful for EGM, but the way he played that Shadow Shaman was just nearly as effective. Really always in the right position, getting the Sable timing off to set up his team for a very powerful gank. We do see No Tide Hunter actually banning out the Batrider here, and again, that's three of those powerful supports still on the table. We'll see if Fnatic is playing a little bit of band chicken here, if they want to let all three of them out in the pool and just kind of say, anything goes here, or if they're going to take one off the board and just trade one for one in that regard. So most likely they're just going to take off the Wisp and then let them have their choice of the Nyx or the Keeper. But, of course, there's plenty of different ways to draft this up here. One thing to note is that Fnatic doesn't have Fly in the drafter seat right here. He is, I believe, in Italy. There was some transportation issues, which unfortunately he cannot be here. So, of course, they are having that stand-in, not a Hacks, right in that position there. But for now, they're going to try to go with the strategies they know. They've practiced together, they've gotten a great understanding of how each individual player plays, and I'm sure they collaborate very effectively with Fly, and I don't think it's going to really tear the team apart to have him out for this one. Hopefully they can pull things together, because they are, of course, down one, and that kind of puts you a little bit behind as far as the psychology of it. Just going in, saying, okay, well, we're down one game, we have to win two in a row. They've already beaten us in 18 minutes. What can we do to lengthen that time? What can we do to make sure that they're not just going to have a run-of-the-mill across the entire map? And generally speaking, that's going to be banning out iconic key heroes. Ake's Chen, Admiral Bulldog's Lone Druid. Taking those two out, and now we're going to have to see what other strats and what other skills No Tide Hunter has in store for us, starting off with that Wisp. Letting that open, Fnatic has opened the Nyx Assassin, or could just go for something like a Disruptor or a Nature's Prophet to go for a lot of counter ganking, and I think those two could be very effective in kind of counteracting that global presence. So we'll see exactly how it plays out. Starting off with the Nyx Assassin, just a great hero overall for lane control, as well as gank potential. Those supports are not going to know what hit them, quite literally, if they don't buy sentries. It's just going to come on in, Vendetta, early burst damage, takes a huge chunk of the support's HP, and from there, it's at the very least going to be a drain on the amount of money that supports have at their disposal, because they're going to have to spam out sentries, dust, gems, just to try to make sure that they're not getting locked down by this Nyx. And from there, Fnatic's going to have a lot of potential because the supports are going to be so squishy, so vulnerable, and they can go in very aggressively. They're going to start off with the Magnus, which is a pretty solid pickup there. If Hani wants to draft him up for the mid, great option for them. Have seen Hani pick up the Nyx a couple of times here and there, but more often than not, you're going to see it as a support. That's just the fact of the matter, is it has too much control in the laning phase to really be negated in that sense. So we're waiting on seeing what No Timer has in store right now. With that Wisp picked up, the Chaos Knight is going to be the kind of go-to hero to synergize directly with that Wisp tether and all of his other abilities there. But there's plenty of different options. You can run a tiny strat. You can run even a Sven. Still is technically very effective. Lifesteal and Faceless Void could be their final selection. So because there's so many different things, I just listed off 5 different options there. They could just leave that to the 4th pick, and they're actually not. They're going to go for actually a fundamental trifecta. If you guys know Dota 2 lore at all, the Wisp, the Keeper Light, the Chaos Knight, they are all elders in their time. They're just pretty much, since the beginning of the Dota world or whatever, all of them kind of representing their own kind of supernatural forces there. So pretty interesting there. Get Enigma to kind of round out the bunch maybe, but no, probably not. It's pretty cool. Seeing the Wisp CK buddy up together and go for just that whole ganking squad oriented thing, but Keeper Light on top of that, really establishing some great control over the lanes, and if it doesn't get Carapest, they Keeper Light of course Illuminate. We saw how effective it can be. We'll just see if it can actually make the difference to win them the game here. But Fnatic is done playing around. They are taking the gloves off here with this Storm Spirit pick. We've been kind of going, okay, this is common pickup. The Chaos Knight Wisp, that's open. Pick it up here. Ban out the Lone Trojan. But they change it up. This is completely different from what we expected. Storm Spirit coming on in provides Hani a ton of gank potential. He's a monster on this Storm. He's played it since Heroes of New Earth and his experience there, and now he's bringing it to the table in Dota 2 specifically, obviously, with the Storm Spirit. And there's a lot of different ways they can make this work, but specifically the idea behind it is the Ball Lightning. Using the Ball Lightning to get to where the action is. The Relocate, just so powerful, having global initiation potential, but if the Storm can pull one of them out of position right off the bat, and be there to actually make things happen, I think that Fnatic is going to be in an okay spot. Like I said, Disruptor and Nature's Prophet still great options to put on the table, but they need to round out their lanes a little bit more, pick up a hard carry, and no Tidehunter is going to start banning like crazy in that regard. They have their CK, happy to start drafting in that fashion, and we do see the Lifestealer taken off the board to start things off. So pretty much they're wanting to ban out escapable carries, ones that have a lot of potential to just avoid this whole interaction with the Wisp CK in general. Because otherwise it'll be, okay, well there's a carry farming by himself on the bottom lane, food for slaughter, really. Chaos Knight just has so much burst damage potential, disable and damage coming out of the Wisp as well. And I think that taking off the fast movement speed Luna, the rageable, TPable Lifestealer, I think those are 2 great heroes to take off the board, and I'm curious to see what the last one's going to be. But Fnatic are going to be looking at a couple of different options along with that carry. They're going to also be looking for a range support, something that could lane with the Nyx, with the carry, and make things happen, presumably on the top lane aggressively, because with the Magnus, you can technically offlane him, but you generally don't want to. Admiral Bulldog has played Magnus offlane plenty of different times. The issue with that there is early ranks of Skewer is not that substantial as far as trying to escape on out. It might be able to dodge and Illuminate, but it costs a lot of mana and is not even going to guarantee your life. So we'll have to see how it plays on out, but right now Magnus is going to be having a rough time if he does end up going on the top lane. More likely, like I said, Nyx could be helping out in an aggressive tri lane up top and go along with that Magnus, making sure that they have whatever they need down on bottom. Alright, so Fnatic banning out some interesting mids, trying to take out S4's arsenal of heroes here. They take out the Templar Assassin, they take out the Night Stalker, 2 very gank-oriented aggressive mids that would synergize nicely with No Tide. And if they take out the Queen of Pain here, the Puck is going to be pretty much their only option, as far as I can tell anyways. But between those 2, if you had to ban out one, since you do have Nyx, Magnus, and Storm all very susceptible to silencing effects, I would definitely prefer to ban out the Puck. Banning out that Waning Rift will guarantee you more potential to get that Reality Rift off, to get the Storm, to Ball Lightning, and to be able to survive. And, of course, the Nyx with the Carapace and stuns, and all that other such nonsense there. So that'll be pretty essential going on forward. But we'll see exactly what they end up banning. They only get one option. If they're banning out ganking supports, the Puck and the Queen of Pain are the 2 major ones on top of what they've already banned or picked. And I definitely think the Puck is the better ban. So we'll see what No Tider does get to pick up for S4 here. But they're also contemplating on their final carry. Do they want to ban out like a Faceless Void or something along those lines, or ban out something more aggressive, like I was thinking? Ban out something like a Sven. They actually ban out Trixie's Prophet. I think that's a pretty solid selection there, but the one thing to note is that with the Storm solo and the Magnus most likely solo himself, there wasn't that much opportunity for Trixie to go jungle. I've seen them go for a kind of a, I guess you could say 2.5-1-1 lineup, where they do make that lane weaker with the carry, but I don't think that would be what they were specifically looking for in this situation. Either way, taking it out, they just don't want to have to deal with that counter gank presence, and from here, Fnatic gonna pull the trigger on that final ban. So, generally speaking, Storm Spirit is going to want the mid in all situations, but we have seen him run in a lot of different ways. We actually have seen a carry Storm Spirit that just goes down on bottom and goes for crazy CS, rushes an Orchid, rushes a Bloodstone, something to stay in the fight with tons of mana and mobility there. And I was already talking about escapable carries. If they run the Storm Spirit as their number one, then he has the most escape of almost any of them. So he can just jump on out of there, be nowhere near that minimap blip, and from that, Chaos Knight Wisp does not have the potential to gank specifically there. Has to be looking at alternate subjects for which to just dish out all that damage.
5 seconds remaining.
So, Fnatic, last couple seconds on the reserve time, are going to actually ban out the Bounty Hunter. A little bit weird in my mind, but they just are going to throw that out so they don't have to worry about Admiral Bulldog's offlane bounty. That's, like I said, the Queen of Pain Wisp are kind of similar in multiple respects. So we'll see how that plays on out long term, but unless No Tide is running for a 2-2-1 setup with Chaos Knight and Wisp on the mid lane, I definitely think that a hero like... Interesting. I was going to say a hero like Queen of Pain or Puck are going to be picked up here, but that Clockwork can run in multiple different ways. Admiral Bulldog can run him on the mid. I'm sure S4 can also take him up, or sorry, Admiral Bulldog can run him on the bottom. S4 could probably take him up on the mid as well. Very, very flexible and versatile. But the best part about him is how survivable he is against heroes like Nyx Assassin. He puts up those cogs, and suddenly you don't have any chance at all of closing the distance on him. You put out one stun, you put out your spells, but you don't have to have the right-click damage to follow up. And the spells themselves will not cut it here. Same thing with Storm Spirit. He does nice right-click damage, can pull him back with the Electric Vortex, but the Remnants themselves won't dish out that AoE of damage. Fnatic rounding out their lanes with Shadow Demon Nyx, hopefully looking for a surprise pick here, because I could easily, I mean, this is the setup here. They have 4 very, very versatile heroes with a lot of potential, but Fnatic could go for maybe another Alchemist pick to go with the Nyx Shadow Demon up top. It didn't work last time, but they're up against a completely different lineup here. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm curious to see how to play out, and I think it could still be in their favor to go for that kind of a draft. Either way, I believe Admiral Bulldog's going to be picking that clock, and we do see the Puck come out for S4. So this is going to be really rough on the Storm. Waning Rift into the Storm Spirit will guarantee that lockdown for an extended period of time. During that time period, we can be looking at Chaos Bolts, Tethers, hook shots, plenty of different ways to lock him down. And I think that No Tide honestly have the advantage in this draft here. Getting the Wisp first, finishing it off with the Puck on S4, and Clockwork is just such a great hero. I really think that No Tide are have full control, and Fnatic are just going to have to react as best as possible. But like I said, they get pick number 10. They get to surprise us here, and we'll see if it's going to be something common and orthodox, or if we get a Gyro counter. Okay, so not a big deal there. Pretty solid draft one way or another, especially if Gyro picks up an early BKB. The problem he's going to have to worry about, though, is getting locked in those cogs. If Admiral Bulldog is on point with those hook shots, it's going to get weird. So let's see if I'm right about the Clockwork Puck interaction there. I mean, like I said, either one of them can go off lane, either one of them can go mid, but it just seems more the style, there we go, of Admiral Bulldog to pick up that clock. Alrighty then, so what we're looking at here, we could see an aggressive tri-lane with a Shadow Demon, Nyx Assassin, and Gyrocopter up on the top with the Magnus down on bottom and the Storm in the mid, but they could switch that off, leave their offlaner a little bit high and dry. Trixie gonna have to try his best to go Magnus offlane, but it's really difficult in these circumstances, especially if Chaos Knight is a little bit lucky on his rolls. If Loda does proc a 2 stuns early, that's going to be spelling the demise if it's an offlane Magnus. Double check a couple things here before we get on into it. Looks good here. So one thing to mention is if this match does go in the way of No Tide Hunter and they end up sealing the deal for a 2-0 matchup, you're going to be looking after the stream. If you go to twitch.tv/the Premier League, you're going to be looking at an opportunity to go for a feature called Ask the Pros. It's an opportunity we give for you guys where it's going to be a post-match interview with one of the winning team's players. So obviously we're going to wait until the best of 3 series has concluded in its fullest. But after the match, one of the winning team's players will come on, just on a Skype call. We'll try to get video if possible, but otherwise just run the audio, and from there, those in the chat can ask questions directly to the players. Well, indirectly, I'll be the one filtering on through that and trying to get the best ones to make sure that we get some good direct feedback of not only how the previous match went, but how they feel in the scene as a whole. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that. Those in Dota TV, those on the live stream, it is going to be at twitch.tv/the Premier League after the match. So that'll be a nice opportunity for you guys if you hadn't already heard about it, but it's just a fun opportunity to get that interview on. But interestingly enough, we are still going to be waiting on out for Fnatic to figure everything out that they are planning. I don't know, checking VODs on to see how good Admiral Bulldog is on clock. I don't know. But still just figuring things out there. I kind of understand them having a little bit of hesitance going on into this. Again, Fly is not drafting for them today, so it makes a lot of sense that they were taking that much time to make their selections. They wanted to make sure they weren't missing something that Fly would have otherwise figured out for themselves. But again, as far as rankings go, Fnatic right now is in the lead by far, tied up with Virtus.pro there. They have the most potential to move on forward. No Tidehunter really need to make some wins early on if they're going to guarantee a playoff slot anytime soon. So they're kind of, I definitely think that Fnatic were the favorites as of a few days ago, but now going on into it, No Tidehunter has made a really, really big splash just yesterday, and now today with Game 1. Just really, really controlling the battle, and from there, making a lot of things happen. It seems like everybody has these golden baby Roshans there, even as they're ridiculously priced, but it's just one of those cool notoriety icons. Anyways, Magnus, Hani is going to be running the Magnus here. We are going to see him get pulled a little bit of regeneration. Nadahack's going to hand him a salve so that he can go for a boots first build. In this situation, I'm not sure if that's going to be exactly that beneficial for him, but it will make sure that they can put out a lot of aggression here and there. Trixie running on the gyrocopter almost implies that they want to run a solo gyrocopter bottom, run Era, No Tail, and Nadahax up top lane, and then put Hani in the mid. But we'll have to see. Of course, boots first on the Magnus generally means he's not going for that standard mid build, but instead maybe actually opting for that top lane. So we'll see what Hani has in store for us, and I think that might be the intention here. Trixie can go in a mid situation, get a bottle up so much more swiftly, and just based on the fact that mid pulls are going to be open through these trees being down, and the fact that no Tidehunter knows the heroes' roles, knows the players, and assumes that the lanes are going to be a certain way, I think that they are going to be in for a bit of a surprise with Hani being able to come up top. He needs that skewer level 1 anyways, so they're going to be maybe expecting a 3v3, and instead they have absolutely, and if that's the case, they have really no full understanding, because Hani is actually not opting for the top lane at all. They're going to go for what I like to call 3.5, 1, and 0. What they're going to accomplish here is have Trixie go in the mid lane here, solo that up. We're going to have a jungle Magnus. He's going to do a lot of mid pulling, trying to pull the easy camp to the lane. It's a lot harder than it used to be, a lot harder. They kind of bug fix / nerfed it, whatever you want to call it, to make it so that it pretty much has to be done perfectly every single time. Either way, on top of that, you do have this that you can stack up and pull it across to put out pressure that way. But for the moment, Hani is just going to look for an opportunity where he can stack things up and farm things down and at his own pace. Ganking up down on bottom, Admiral Bulldog has those cogs available level 1, so he does have some good survivability and escapability, but if he doesn't expect what's forthcoming, if he doesn't expect a good disruption into Skewer coming out of No Tail and Hani, they could be in for a very, very big surprise. Illusory Orb on cooldown for 6 seconds. We'll see if S4 will be able to negate what's kind of impending here. Hani flanking in on. He really wants to get in a good position to try to trap out the puck, but the phase shift could ruin everything. It all comes down to S4's reflexes, S4's timings here, and it could be really, really bad. So both of them kind of looking at an opportunity on bottom and mid, respectively, but Admiral Bulldog being so cautious here, getting 0 experience out of this, but at least he's not in a position where he's going to get first blooded just yet. Either way, the Observer Ward scouting out on Admiral Bulldog, but they're not looking that way just yet. Instead, kind of turning their eyes towards possibly pulling options. And really, this is a lot of time for pretty much all 3 supports to be accomplishing very little. Nadahax has been able to stack and pull. The Wolf leader, Pack Leader's Aura, going to be able to provide a lot of damage from these neutral camps here to just really deny the creep waves. But beyond that, we can look at the experience per minute and see there's nothing on the Magnus, nothing on the Shadow Demon, and also very, very little on the Nyx Assassin. So starting things off, we're already seeing things better for EGM and Ake. They're able to stack up camps and farm them away with absolutely no wards blocking them, so that they can just really set themselves up for good times on items like Mechanism and other such really important things. So dueling on out S4, going up against Trixie here. The Flat Cannon doing a lot, but just dodging out with the phase shift in general is going to put him in an okay position here and there to sustain in the lane. He has that bottle coming, and hopefully he'll be able to help himself to a lot of restoration, a lot of survivability here. But we do see, based on that phase shift, they're going to maybe go for the skewer. Not just yet. Trixie diving deep, though. Here comes, no, the silence comes on out, but the skewer will do some damage here. Oh, perfect timing on Puck, burning him down. Will the first blood come out? Trixie will pick it up, just barely looking out on some barrage, but oh, Illuminate clipping him up. He's down to 60 HP, running for the hills here. He has the Tango to give him a little bit to work with, and it looks like he will get out. But that is really an essential kill to help Trixie on that mid lane. Otherwise, S4 would start getting out of control like crazy. But just starting things off, very nicely played. Aki taking some hits, but only getting Illuminate onto half charge there. Admiral Bulldog, however, trying to not only force Nyx Assassin back, but pen in No Tail to get picked off by S4 here. Actually orbiting forward to get some damage on Hani too, but they're just going to take the 1-for-1 exchange for the moment. So good transitions across the board, but it does actually show that when push comes to shove, they're really looking at getting Hani in this mid lane. They wanted the boots for the first blood, and my oh my were they patient for it. They really wanted to get off on a good start, and I feel they've accomplished it to some regard, but I'm not exactly sure if it's enough. Right now, Hani will have his bottle, assuming that, yeah, that's exactly what's coming. So he does have his bottle and his boots coming in 4 minutes in, but he's also sitting not even at level 3. He doesn't have shockwaves to spam out the lanes, and Puck has been able to actually find his level 5 already. So in that matchup there, I don't really know if we're going to see as much as we need to. And with the Sentry Ward placement coming on out of, I believe, Ake, is going to actually make sure that they can't stack up the pull here, which is, of course, what they wanted to do with Trixie on this gyrocopter. So, Roaming Magnus, you don't see that every day, but using it to get the first blood here and actually almost get out without any trouble whatsoever. But Admiral Bulldog's positioning in conjunction with the relentless retaliation of S4, he's able to jump on in and make sure that they pay for their aggression there. Up on top, EGM closing in on level 6. He does have a flying courier recipe stored up there, but it's not going to happen until... Okay, down in bottom. Disruption coming on out. They're going to be able to skewer him to the south. Admiral Bulldog in a terrible spot, and he does have cogs, but that can't really accomplish too much at all, as they're going to be able to get that pick off there and not even aggro the tower. Just walking away 2-1. And one thing to mention that I only just realized is that they actually got the courier kill in the middle of that. I saw it delivering the bottle. It was really good timing for them. Very fortunate. But I didn't realize they got the right click off, and presumably the ranged hero in the midst, that was a Shadow Demon, was able to finish that off there. So really awesome for them. Getting that gold boost, you can definitely see that they jumped up to a huge advantage right off the bat. However, losing that tier 1 equalized it for a bit, and now they're going to come right back up with their own tier 1 in exchange. Interesting action here, but Ake helping out Loda to push down this tower pretty hardcore, and even using the Phantasms, they're going to be able to tank up quite aggressively with this here. 3 siege creeps, 3 range creeps and a siege creep to make sure this is going to make a lot happen up top lane, and all they have available is this rank 2 skewer to try to counter push up. It does force them off for the moment, but still taking a lot of damage. They've actually already lost 1100 HP on this tower. Back to last hits and dies, we do see that Storm Spirit era has been having kind of the run-the-mill in the bottom lane. Admiral Bulldog just not finding an opportunity to close the distance and try to put out pressure. His cogs are pretty good for mana burning up on the Storm, but in general, with that ball lighting up, it's not going to matter in the bigger picture. It's just not really going to be the most essential thing to bringing him down. Instead, it's going to be about who's going to be ganking up in this nighttime. Right now, no observers are up. As far as who has them, No Tail has 1 available, and from there hasn't been anything picked up by EGM or Ake. They both have just their standard items here, and although EGM will get a lot more income from some good relocate ganks if they are successful, the lack of observer wards right now is putting heroes like S4 at risk, even though he does have a huge escape with the phase, with the jaunt. Admiral Bulldog blocking up the lane, trying to just push back these creeps so that eventually they will fall under his tower, but just consistent and very active pulling by Nadahaxes, making sure that full creep waves are being denied almost every single, or sorry, almost every other wave, meaning that it's going to be kind of a fruitless attempt by Admiral Bulldog here. We do see on the mid, Dream Coil is popped off, big damage from that Illuminate, and now S4 looking to finish him off with his Raining Rift, but it's only rank 1. Instead, Hani coming on in. It's big damage from the Skewer, not that much, but with the Shockwave, they'll be able to finish it off. Trixie picking up another kill, and S4 gonna have to fall back from here. Bulldog being only level 3 means this transition into the mid lane is not gonna be very, very helpful. Another fruitless endeavor coming from him, and it's just gonna be a little bit frustrating for him. No Tail dodging out a rocket. 80 HP, was that enough to burn him down? I'm not 100%, but it looks like, yeah, 120, even with the mitigation, that would have done it. So nice movement by No Tail, barely dodging that out, and making sure that it still remains 3-1. Fnatic need to win this game. They want to stay on top of the matchups, on top of the brackets in TPL in general, and they need to, in that regard, they have to actually win this match here. Covering up the bottom room is going to be Admiral Bulldog, S4 on the top here, and they don't actually have the bottle just yet because that courier is so belated. S4 without a bottle for that period of time, really limiting his potential aggression on the mid. Alright, rolling back and around, Observers picked up here, possibly just going to put one behind the creep waves here so that they can put pressure on out, but the big thing they keep consistently making sure of is that stacks aren't happening on these Ancients. If Gyrocopter can't rubber band, they have control of this top, and they're going to make sure that's going to stay the case. Back on mid, Dreamcoil about to come up and available here, and just making sure that there are no lane wards on mid. Big thing coming up, relocate ganks from EGM. Just needs another creep wave of experience, and he'll be all set and good to go. Now Disruption coming out from No Tail onto Trixie. There is a call down. It will do all the damage it needs to and just evaporate him instantaneously. As for jaunting into a bad spot, and with this Shockwave coming on up as well as a Skewer, they're going to be able to put some mean damage into him. Didn't get the slow. Here comes the relocate counter gank. Loda and EGM turning around on Trixie with a 4-second stun. Easy pick up there. Looking for more damage onto No Tail with these spirits. It won't be enough yet, but he has another volley coming on through. If he can just get him out fast enough. No, the Impale from Nyx. The Wisp leaves empty-handed, and Loda in pursuit with those treads. 380 movement speed, but it's just not enough for him to be willing to commit into a 1 versus 3. So turning it around, they do actually get 1 for 1 in the end, but getting a kill on Trixie is much more relevant than taking down Ake on that Keeper of the Light. Looking for Drums of Endurance after the fact. They'll be able to be just as mobile as before and have a little bit more stats to work with here, spamming out their spells. Storm, Era, moving in. He looks like he's going to rush a BKB, honestly. It's not a bad pick. I was already talking about that silence being the exact thing that needed to lock him down, but if you get a BKB, Waning Rift, Chaos Bolt, so on and so forth, won't be a factor. And, of course, since he can jump on out of cogs, he's going to still remain mobile, active, and with a substantial amount of damage output. So, pretty interesting move, but I think it's a solid pickup by him. Oh, Admiral Bulldog. Poor Admiral Bulldog. Actually down towards 130 experience per minute. We do see the supports are a little bit lower, but it's not really anything that would be unexpected. Admiral Bulldog, however, should be moving in towards level 6 by now, and it's just not happening. We do see GM jungling a little bit too aggressively here, dropping himself down to 10 HP, and actually losing a lot to the damage over time effects as well. Clockwork on the mid lane, they want to shutting him down. He doesn't have hookshot yet. That's a lot of utility that's not available to them, and they are going to keep that rolling. They actually trying even to carapace up on his rockets. But yeah, they're going to keep ganking him up using these wards. They have great vision even at nighttime. They know where Admiral is, and they want to make sure that as long as they feel they can go as 4 or 5, they can actually jump in on this, bring down the clock, no problem at all. Yes, S4 does have that Dream Coil that does very nicely with the relocates, as we just saw between Loda and EGM jumping in towards the Ancients, but more importantly, we do see some movement here. Ake trying to charge up and illuminate on the flank, and we actually just see a full relocate. I don't think, yeah, Wisp does have S4 with him, so they go on through with the puck. Too much damage right off the bat. Nice polarity, but oh, he survives. He bottles, he magic sticks, but he's caught in the Dream Coil, caught in the Chaos Bolt. Arrow turning around at EGM, ferns him down before the relocate expires, gets the stun on Loda, following up with a call down. S4 jumping into it, actually gets disrupted, but Loda will definitely fall. Next, S4, will he be able to get on out? The damage comes across from the Illuminate to finish off Shadow Demon, and they're cleaning it up nicely, just routing them. Trixie gonna not accomplish much here with the cogs damage going on through, and big damage from S4. Perfect timing on his phase during the barrage, and then going across with a big jaunt to finish everything off. They clean it up. It looked terrible for no Tidehunter. Even when the relocate came on through, Hani was able to get a triple polarity off and really set up the retaliation by Fnatic. And although pretty much everybody was able to participate, they weren't able to bring enough down. They brought down the CK. I believe they also they focused on the Wisp, but the other 3 remained for an extended period of time. And all Fnatic takes away is the deny on their 2-2 tower. One specific misplay I will call out here is No-Tail disrupting right during the cooldown onto the Puck. I don't think that really accomplished anything positive for them, and instead negated a lot of damage that he would have received. Puck dropped very low in that engagement, but never were they able to seal the deal, and I believe part of that was based on the cooldown and that lack of focus because of the disruption. Either way, it's all said and done. We do see the impact, though. Long-term, over 1,500 gold, disadvantage now and plummeting down 4,200 as far as experience as well. As far as items, directly we see that S4 picks up his Blink Dagger from that if he didn't already have it before. Not 100%, but either way, he definitely has a lot of survivability at this stage in the game. He doesn't have that much in phase shift, so he will have to manage that very effectively, but other than that, he is just the perfect setup for his team. He is all over the place with a lot of damage, and I really think that it's going to add up to a lot quickly. Alrighty, then we do see EGM and Loda buddy up onto NTH, doing a lot of damage with that 3-second stun. It's too late for him already. Just rolling that up, and with the rank 4 Chaos Bolt, you can generally rely on at least a 3-second stun. I mean, it definitely has a range of 2, 3, and 4, but more commonly, obviously 2/3 of the time, you're going to be having a 3+ roll, and that's exactly what they needed in that situation to burn down Nyx before the Carapace could even be a threat. One big factor in that is Nyx Assassin only has Magic Wand and Boots of Speed. He doesn't have any real legitimate static durability, and from there, he's got to be playing very, very cautiously. Playing up in this position here is just going to get him killed one way or another. Era, how's he doing? Looking for a drum on the gyrocopter, but still pretty far away from that BKB. Looking for 1,300 more gold, if that is indeed the item he's going to be looking for, and I pretty much guarantee that there's not really anything else that he can directly benefit from, and I definitely think the BKB will help him a ton versus the Dream Coil isn't a factor because of Ball Lightning, but the Waning Rift and the stuns coming out, it's really important to make sure that you're not having to concern yourself with those. Got to give a lot of credit here to No Tighter in general, farming up this jungle so efficiently. They're combining their forces together, Captain Planet style, going with the Illuminates, going with the Wisp CK duo jungle, and they're coming out on top as far as last hits in general. Across the board, Era is on the top of the leaderboard, but from there, the other 5 are only trumped by Gyrocopter and Era. So, solid play there in general. And the Ancient Stack's now still not coming. Very, very uncertain about that. Looking at net worth here, we do see 5,800 up on the Puck. He'll be moving in towards bigger and better things, possibly a Yule Scepter just to be that much more annoying, but so many different options here that can make him as much of a menace as possible.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So really, both teams biding their time. Both teams finding opportunities to farm and just kind of taking it for granted. They're saying, okay, well, we need to be playing defensively and trying to get a little bit more gold back on the table, but No Titan are shifting that focus. They kind of gave them a little bit of a breather, and now jumping on in with a double ward, they're going to go in easily for S4 to close this out. Nice disruption, but it's only going to give more opportunities for Gyrocopter. Oh, big relocate, finishing it off out, and it seems to be a bit of overkill, really. Actually, for some reason, thought that was a Gyrocopter TP, but either way, Trixie not going to get involved in that one there. They just committed everything to it with that relocate to try to make sure they had the pressure down bottom, and then immediately send the Chaos Knight up top. Loda keeps on farming, closing in now 79 CS. He's going to be able to pick up that armlet in no time at all. So armlet is up here for the Chaos Knight. Meanwhile, Trixie only can boast that drum. Seeing a counter smoke, wanting to put pressure out on Loda, but it won't be fast enough. He realizes they are all missing 100%, and even though he doesn't have wards, just feels much safer in the jungle. Smelling something, just knowing something's fishy here. And Arrow going to be the only one on the map for the moment. Looking for an opportunity. Vendetta coming in. EGM is probably the best target here, but actually just going to focus down on Loda with that stun to initiate. They're going to dish out a ton of damage. Overcharge not doing enough here, and Loda is going to drop after this Phantasm. Committing the RP on 1, though, and now S4 can counter-initiate, but Admiral Bullock hooks on creeps. S4 dropping low rapidly, and, NTH is going to drop pretty quickly, too, but it looks like Era jumping down the cliff. Can he dodge the Illuminate? Cancelled early for Ake to clean it up nicely. Era not even able to ball lightning out, and it looks like, might not be enough. Yeah, it won't be enough. Yeah, nice carapace attempt, but the TPs don't come on through, and in the end, the cleanup goes the other way. They get the kill on Loda, but by immediately jumping the gun on that reverse polarity, Hani wasn't able to contribute much more for his team, and from there, no Tidehunter are not reliant on one hero. They have so many heroes with so much damage. Rank 4 spirits, maxed out Illuminate, they have the mechanism, and with S4's beautiful, beautiful Dream Coil, just perfectly pulling them in position and making sure that they could be locked down by their allies, there really wasn't much more to say about it. Tower kill will go to Gyrocopter. Trixie denying it on out and now doing too much damage to Admiral Bulldog. Looks like it will be enough, but the mechanism says differently. Loda getting a 2-second roll, not able to close the distance just yet. Wisp coming on in to help him get a little bit more movement speed. Try to close the distance here, but Trixie, he's going to drop down. Uphill, the orb doing too much damage. Now EGM coming in, trying to heal things up a little bit, but the urn is actually canceled, and there's a big Vendetta coming out, as well as an Impale going across on a Chaos Knight. Armlet toggles, but he's still going to drop in the end. We did see here a whiffed hook coming out from Admiral Bulldog, and instead he's trapped in with the Nyx. Not exactly the target that he wanted, but with this Dream Coil, they're going to be able to clean him up. The question is whether or not they want to go on an Era. As for picking up, just kind of staying on the side lanes and cleaning things up nicely, they do end up acquiring a triple kill for him. So he's stacking up 6, 1, and 8, but I'm curious to see what more they can accomplish here. They're pushing it on the tier 2. Polarity's up in 15 seconds. Call down already available if you can just TP on in. But with the fortified down, they're already making good time on this tower. And we'll see exactly how quickly they can burn it down. It looks like they're just going to cede it to him. They don't feel comfortable with jumping all the way in. Rank 3 Shadow Poison doing something, but it's obviously not enough here. Looking at Roshan, they do have one Observer Ward here, but Fnatic about to lose it. And with that vision across the map, they're not going to have much understanding of the enemy's positioning. So, rocketing on down bottom, pushing out the lanes, and that gives them a great opportunity if they want to swoop on in here. Overload being pretty effective at taking down that Roche very, very quickly, even without lifesteal. But it seems to be not really their focus, and they're going to instead just keep Loda farming, keep Loda very, very active, because if they have full HP and mana, the world is their oyster. Literally, global presence will allow them to initiate on anybody caught out. And you don't want to be sitting at 20% HP and mana and wish that you could gank somebody out of position and instead just have to watch them as they farm away. But Fnatic right now, not farming exactly. They're looking for more opportunities. They're looking for bigger damage, and they're trying to gank up once again on Loda. Last time got turned around on them, but they feel this time might be a better opportunity, especially since Wisp is already here. They cannot bring in anybody else, but we'll have to see how quickly this works out for them with the Electric Vortex. Immediately TP response, and they commit the reverse polarity. No, they cancel it out. Is now Hani looking for more opportunities on S4 specifically. Dream Coil and Spears doing enough to bring down Era, and now Admiral Bulldog, beautiful cogs, pushing back No Tail, trying to clean him up, but they don't have the rockets yet. The reverse polarity on S4 finishes him off. It's a wild goose chase here. Trixie in a bad spot though, and it's just going to duel it out with the barrage. With the stuns coming out from Nyx and one more rocket barrage, it should be enough to finish off Admiral Bulldog right here. Triple cogs, but not worth anything in the long run. This was a very, very effective flank to gank and team fight in the end for Fnatic. I actually think it was almost by accident. Hani tried to RP that Chaos Knight solo, but it was canceled out by some kind of silencer disable, and from there he held on to it. He was able to get it on S4, the slippery fellow that's been impossible to lock down all game long, netting his second death since the first blood. Literally, in the past 20 minutes, he has died once, and that was the very first death in the mid lane 3v1, and from there he's been jumping in, creating havoc, getting triple kills all over the place, but he hasn't died until now. And that is because of the RP was committed, and they were able to clean up from there. So, maybe a little bit accident, but Hani was able to get that RP off, and of course they did finish off their other targets as well. Looking at that gold graph, going a little bit more in favor of Fnatic, and especially the experience. And there's a rubber banding aspect where you have two high-level heroes, level 12 and level 14. As you can finish them off, you're going to be in a pretty good position to move forward. Okay, looking for one more quick Illuminate. He does have a huge movement speed advantage, but yeah, just going to get relocated on and brought down. So finding their opportunity here. They did have vision from that Dire Observer Ward, and got to give credit to whoever placed that there, which it looks like it was Ake. So Ake's kill, I will give him credit, even if it was technically acquired by Load on the CK. Looks down bottom, we do see this tier 1 tower taking too much damage, and they're not really willing to commit a fortify nor their team's transition to actually put pressure down on this bottom lane. They're just going to let it fall, which kind of opens up the jungle a little bit. No Tidehunter, with these wards that they've been placing actively, really taking this entire quadrant of the map to themselves and cutting off the Gyrocopter Trixie to just farming up on lanes that are pushed out or up on the Ancients, which he's been doing to an okay effect. Hopefully those aren't the same Ancient Rock Golems. But nevertheless, his BKB is very delayed. Looking at his GPM, you see that he is only sitting at 358, and that's alright, but comparing that to the 450 of the Puck S4, we see 412 on Loda as well. He's going to have just as much. He's going to have that BKB and an armlet to boot. So, not really where they want to be, especially not trading this tier 2 for a tier 1 tower, especially if the Trixie can't finish off the tier 1. That's just giving something away for nothing. And looks like CK is just going to teleport back to base, but if they play their cards right, EGM can just TP back to base and relocate on in 5 seconds from now. However, the damage is done, and Trixie just going to teleport on bottom to keep farming away. He is still their primary farmer despite Era picking up the Storm, and I think they're still going to be focusing on him getting as much attack damage as possible. BKB up for Storm. It is still at its full 10-second duration. Could be amazingly helpful for them to actually be able to fight against No Tide. But one thing they don't know is the smoke coming on in, and of course the fact that they don't have any Observer Wards. So they don't have any vision beyond this point, and this Roche should fall without any kind of interruption. No Clockwork Rocket for them, and that is going to be a free Agency Immortal for the CK. Very, very happy to pick that up so early, and from there he can play even more aggressively than he already has, if that's possible.
Dire's top Roshan has fallen to the down.
My existence is a shoulder.
So Keeper just picking up a Vitality to keep himself online a little bit, make sure that he has a lot more HP to work with, survives long enough, even during an RP, to try to get that mechanism off, and that can make their team fights turn around very, very nicely for them. But other than that, the clock is working on that pipe, and they're just trying to make sure they can fight as long as possible. If they can survive, if they can get a 625 mech between the tether of the Wisp over to, let's say, the CK, and focus his targeting there, make sure that he's going to stay alive the entire time. Give him a pipe, give him a mech and a half, or actually 2.5 mechs if you count the tether, then that is going to make it so he's not unkillable, but he can stand and deliver so much damage, it's ridiculous. And from there, they just have to keep alive, keep active, and use the Decisive Vice very effectively for more and more pickoffs. They still have a huge kill advantage despite that mild, unfortunate fight down on the bottom lane. So with this Roche kill, they're kind of bringing it back into their own game. And since they have control of the map, since they are the ones warding as aggressively as this, just kind of making sure that if anybody crosses their borders, that there is going to be a bit of a guard there to send them the other way. A little bit of a custom service, if you will, but instead in this case, they kill you. Looks like S4 is going to go in, try to go aggressively on a single target pickoff, which is pretty much what their team is built around. If you consider the relocate, if you consider the hookshot, all they're about is trying to single somebody out. They're trying to make sure they can get a hookshot on Trixie, cogs him in, relocate on top of that, reality rift through, all that good stuff so they can burn him down immediately, even despite the BKB. If they can accomplish that, then although Arrow will be frustrating, although Hani's disables can be substantial, it won't be the biggest impact. So, Hani does have a Blink Dagger himself. He's going to be able to get much better initiations than he was prior, and he's not going to be looking for solo RPs anymore. He's going to be looking to try to go for some cool Blink Skewer, off-range, crazy 3 to 4 man RPs, and that could easily turn the game around. We'll have to see how it plays out. But Gyrocopter with Flat Cannon and a decent chunk of attack damage. Not the best, but I mean, it still adds up pretty quickly. So, looking at 130 some odd AD with the the Magnuses are reverse polarity. They're going to be able to burn him down quickly in an AoE fashion. So that is just so awesome for them. Moving on forward, I like that Wisp is constantly carrying the dust, and the Nyx Assassin is always one of those characters that you don't want to let go without a reason. And a lot of, even professional teams, make mistakes of underestimating that kind of escape potential. They just go on in and take so much damage so quickly. Wow, so we do have a quick pause coming out. Trixie was the one who required a moment, but I feel it's passed a few times over, so I'm kind of curious to understand what's going on. Not sure. We'll wait another minute before we request a reason. I mean, obviously people have some issue one way or another, and hopefully they'll be able to make sure it's all sorted out long term. But we do see it kind of tapering off here. The gold graph and experience graph plateauing out a little bit because of the pause, a little bit because both teams are kind of just drawing the line, quite literally with these wards. I was kind of saying, as far as Dire goes, as far as no Tidehunter, they just want to make sure they're not, and the enemy is not branching out. Maybe get a little bit of vision up on the Ancients, and they'll be good to go from there. But Radiant are not going to settle for that. We see this based on the wards. Fnatic moving in to try to gank anytime CK farms a camp here or moves in to the northeast here. Along with that, the covering up this plateau allows them to put pressure on this tier 2 tower safely without having to worry about ganks from the side. But the problem with that mindset is that no Tidehunter has huge range of initiation. They have a Puck with a Blink Dagger. They have a relocated Chaos Knight. They have a hook-shotted Clockwork. The only one who can get to the action that quickly is the Keeper Light, who just now realized Adkay's picked up a friggin' Atos, so that is definitely something. I've seen the Vitality Booster. There's a lot of different options as far as how to play that one out, but picking up one item that gives you so many great stats, getting the huge health boost, getting Intellect, and on top of that, getting a slow to lock down anybody that doesn't have a BKB. So you talk about the Magnus. If he can't get in the position he wants to, when he wants to, you can completely screw that over, and you just have to think of little things, like the Blinding Light on top of that. You Blinding Light Magnus away and Atos him simultaneously. If he's just used his Blink and Skewer to get in position for this RP, and then suddenly he's thrown that far away at that slow of a movement speed, it just completely screws over his potential to engage appropriately and win that fight. So that is really, really effective, and I can't wait to see what Ake's got up his sleeve for if he's going to utilize it in that fashion, or just in the standard, go for pickoffs, go for Scythe and Clockwork, Hook, and all that stuff. Right now they're forcing Fnatic into 5v5s. That's okay to an extent because they do have that mag and that gyrocopter, but it would be a lot better for them if Trixie was more farmed. He got some good pressure on the mid early, and then it kind of fell off from there. No farm on the Ancients, really, really cutting them down. But yeah, I'm not. Okay. Not going to press it just yet, but we do obviously have to get a game going on. This is only game 2 of this best-of-3 series, and if Fnatic can actually make some big plays coming out with Hani's Blink Dagger, they could be moving the other direction. So we'll have to see if his going to go to game 3, but at the moment just paused out at the 24-minute mark. It definitely seems in favor of no Tide, not only in golden experience and kills and towers and all this stuff, but just in their current mindset. They have such aggressive intentions. The BKB will be up for CK soon. He has this Aegis. He has so much to work with here. And so far, EGM's Wisp has been exactly what they need to support it. Exactly what they need to stay on point, stay aggressive, and stay active. These wards aren't really the best Wisp wards in my mind. Generally, you like wards in kind of this position here, which obviously has been sentryed out very wisely. But yeah, if you can get some wards up on the enemy's plateau and the enemy's jungle, that's where you find your opportunities to flank to gank. That's where you get your relocates on in. So far, the relocates have kind of been not as effective as they need to be. Jumping on into this position here, just a pincer in a Shadow Demon, it's a good cooldown. It's an amazing cooldown. And so far, Fnatic's pristine positioning, pristine mindset of never being alone, never being caught out, makes it so that they don't have to worry about the relocate ganks. They just have to worry about the relocate teamfight ultimates, where they have Chaos Knight just put in right into the thick of things, and the damage comes on through. Alright, so it looks like we're good to go. No Tail has and No Tidehunter had a quick little break there, so whether getting themselves a drink or restroom break, whatever they needed. There we go. So, a quick explanation for that. But pretty much, it really comes down to BKB timing. Gyrocopter and the Storm Spirit both have 10-second BKBs. The Magnus Ultimate can be so instrumental in this. And then from there, they just have to make sure that they have enough damage to burn down the Phantasms, despite the mech and the pipe. That's really what it comes down to. 100%. Because if they can burn down the Phantasms, that's a lot of damage taken off the board. You add in this Armlet, it adds, I believe, like 56 damage on top of what he has already to base damage. Actually, no, they don't get the plus damage. They get the 25 strength. So I'm more talking like 140 base strength, but they take 100% propagation. So right now, you're adding 140 times 2 to your right-click damage, and they have the potential to crit. And it just adds in ridiculous potential that if you don't handle it in an AoE sense, you're going to pay for. Absolutely. So we are going to see up top that they're kind of just biding their time for the moment, farming away, but As soon as Fnatic sees the Chaos Knight farming, they know that they're in relatively safe positioning there, and as long as they move in towards a good gank of 2 or 3 people, they can really make things happen. The problem with that, though, is even though they have vision of S4 and Ake, as well as Emerald Bulldog on the back end, they can't really just walk up to them. The relocate means that they're always as 5, and that Loda and EGM are always going to be able to rush into support heroes like Ake, who seem overextended now, seem completely out of position, as a matter of fact. But it's only for so long. Checking out these observer wards, I was talking about how they wanted something more aggressive, and this is really, really fitting the bill. No chance that this is going to be sentryed out. Instead, they just have a full control of this positioning. Don't have to worry about the plateau, which is kind of currently covered up by Fnatic. But they just get to move on forward. Smoke coming on through. This is the action we've been waiting for. Kind of just a little bit a lull in the action with that pause, but suddenly they are getting the opportunity to gank on in. As far as their vision goes, they know they're in this general area, but they don't have specifics. They're going to have to wait, based on their smoke timing, jump on in. There is that Vendetta. They can close in on Loda here. They're going to try to find him out in this exact position, and although they can jump, Loda and an EGM can jump into their allies, it doesn't work the other way around. And if they just ran on in, they'd be in a great position, but are too afraid right now of Admiral Bulldog, TP hook shots, and presumably Ake just being able to jump back as well. It's really, I think it was a great opportunity for them, and they kind of didn't need to fall back, but given their understanding of the enemy's positioning, giving these guys farming in the jungle and hidden areas, it makes a lot of sense why they made that decision there. Now we see the aggression coming out the other direction. No Tide under. Oh, relocate on in. They really, really want this. Go for the relocate. They don't get the stun off on Era, so he's going to be able to ball TP out. Same thing with Hani skewering away. They just completely got out of dodge there and didn't suffer a single casualty. They found a small opportunity, but instead went for the opening that didn't exist, and from there they were able to walk away. Let's take a tower count. We pretty much are looking at tier 2s falling across the board. Every single tier 2 has dropped down for Fnatic, whereas the exact opposite is true for No Tide. But another important thing is the fact that they have, interesting, a tier 1 tower up on the mid. It doesn't have much HP, but the important aspect of that is the Roche control. Being this close to Roche pretty much means that whenever they TP in here, they can hook shot from the high ground, they can blink from the high ground, they can do whatever they want. Now we do see Trixie sheeped up here, and with a Dream Coil, he doesn't have a TV scroll. So it's an awkward position, but it's so funny how they don't want to commit to things, because they know what's coming. They know how close at hand the reinforcements, the cavalry is, and they're not going to really put themselves out of position in that regard. So pushing out the lane, giving more opportunity to Loda to farm, but other than that, there's really not enough going on through. Not enough being accomplished here. Now trying to go aggressive. S4 and Ake are the ones going on in, but there is Drink Claw on everybody but Hani. He comes in. There is a hook shot as well from Admiral Bulldog pulling out. They do get a nice defensive disruption, but the damage across is too much. Hani can't get that reverse polarity off to save his life. Instead, gets stunned out, and he will be dropped down. Complete massacre. No Tide under cleaning up. Cleaning house, and it looks like up on top, Trixie will be dropping down as well. Atos sealing that fate there. Again, no TP scroll. Starting off, S4 picking up a double or triple Dream Coil, and Hani was just running around in circles. He couldn't find his opening. He couldn't get the blink off because of the damage that was just happening in a massive AoE. And although there was a nice defensive disruption from the Shadow Demon onto him to keep him alive, it just made him a target as soon as he came back out. No RP means no team fight. And from there, Fnatic just got smashed. Completely obliterated, and there was really no hope for them at all. Now pushing down on bottom lane, all 4 are available, but Era is going to be up in 15 seconds, and he's the last one to the party, as everybody else will be already up in time. We do see this Aegis about to expire. That's maybe 15 seconds off, and suddenly Loda won't have that second life available. Cannot rely on it here. And we're going to see them possibly try to take high ground. They have the Illuminate. They have, of course, more hookshot initiation, and it could really, really make a big impact in this engagement here. Hani still has that blink, still has everything available, all eyes on him. He has to be the one to make this happen, but the Spirits do a lot of incidental. There we go! Double polarity start things off. They do actually go in. S4 stunned out by the Carapace. They skewer double back. There is a complete destruction of Loda. No Aegis. No Aegis had expired just barely in time, and Puck also taken on out. S4, Admiral Bulldog in his cogs gets disrupted, and I can't imagine there's any hope for him here. No TP scroll. Yeah, that's... Holy crap, he did it. He got a hook on EGM, but the pursuit of Era will persist. Can they close the distance? I don't think so. The homing missile is all they've got right now. And okay, he is actually going to try to cog things up. There's no way to jump on over this, and instead they're going to have to take the long way around. It looks like that's been enough to get him out of dodge, but Hani wants more. Gets to slow, but with this mana leak, his pursuit has also come to an end. Oh my gosh. Admiral Bulldog with that hookshot. Long range on the Wisp. What are they doing? They cannot turn this around. I mean, technically, right now, EGM can relocate back to base. 12 seconds after that, they can pull Loda back into the fight. But they don't have vision. This vision has been reclaimed by Fnatic, and from there, it feels like they're playing extremely riskily right here. Still, they're coming down about them, and they just are fearless, despite the huge loss they took on underneath the Tier 3 tower. They're like, okay, well, RP is down. It's just like a Tide's Ravage. If they lose that, for that window of time, they are useless in a team fight. They have Call Down and Flat Cannon to try to just dissipate everything that's going on, dish out that AoE damage. But that's only going to be for so much longer. 25 seconds left on the polarity. And the one big thing that happened there, I'm not sure if Loda realized it himself. I'm not sure how well they timed the... What? Sorry about that. Keep it light. Getting a little bit too aggressive with those Illuminates, and does get picked off by some long-range arrow initiation. Didn't even need to use that much mana to get on top of them, but once he did, once he had this vision from the Observer Ward, they were able to close the distance and draw a line across the entire map. But yeah, the big thing there was Loda. I'm not sure how well they timed Roche, but the Aegis the Immortal timed out like 5 seconds into the fight. He did not have it, and of course, getting no second resurrection, he didn't commit his Phantasm. Because generally how you play with an Aegis is you wait for your first death. You try to bait as many spells as possible, waste as many cooldowns, so that when the time comes, you come back up, and you immediately pop your Armlet, BKB, and Phantasms, and just go to town as the cleanup crew. But the problem is that he didn't have that Aegis, and he was playing in a position as if he was. So when S4 came on in, got stunned by Nyx Assassin's Carapace, just by the incidental damage there, Hani was able to get the lockdown on the two main heroes, Puck and Chaos Knight, and when that happened, there was no hope for that engage. Luckily, though, they were able to escape on out despite of it. Admiral Bulldog getting the long-range hook, and now he has a Ghost Scepter to do-si-do with Gyrocopter a little bit more, trying to pull him in. He can easily hookshot into Gyro and just pop the Ghost Scepter. He will take some barrage damage, but it's nothing he can't handle with that Pipe of Insight. Looking back at the gold graph, it is coming back a little bit towards no Tide, but there's such a disadvantage. It seems like it's almost too difficult to come back from. Fnatic, with their lineup, seems like they still can manage it. They have a dual core with this Storm Spirit. He has a ton of mana and magic immunity to work with. It has popped off his BKB a couple times, but the big thing is still going to be Hani. It's still going to be Trixie. Those two combined together are going to make the plays. Looks like Gyrocopter's next item of choice is a Butterfly, and I cannot blame them. That really sets it up so he can survive inside the fights. Nyx Assassin closing in on EGM. The spirits will be destroyed, but yeah, they hit all along with them, the Wisp, the mothership there. And we do see Hani going in. He does commits the RP. He actually closes in on Loda. There will be a relocate coming on in from EGM. He doesn't bring anybody with him, though, trying to pull Loda out. Actually, Nautahax getting turned around on with that Chaos Bolt. Now looking for more. Now, no opportunities there. BKBs were popped off. That's all they can really take away from that. Either way, buyback from Wisp, relocating in, trying to turn it around, and I believe it really worked out for them. They Wisp for a Nyx Assassin isn't even exchanged. The issue there is that the Chaos Knight popped off his BKB, and the Wisp actually activated his buyback. Now, of course, that being a problem, because if Wisp doesn't move in towards a bigger item like a Halberd or a Heart, he's actually going to be a pretty easy pickoff once we close in on about the 35-40 minute part of the game. We do see a call down defensive to close the distance, but it looks like Admiral Bulldog has already found his target. No Tail gets logged down, and without a reverse polarity, Hani is just going to have to watch as his ally gets completely obliterated. Roshan respawning. Couldn't be worse timing for Fnatic to get picked off there, and that's just keeps on happening. No Tidehunter finding their openings even without wards. Using the Rocket Flare alone, they're able to find those opportunities, and again, that is going to be another opportunity for them to get a free Roche and not really have to worry about any form of retaliation. BKB back online for a 7-second duration. Gyrocopter currently sitting at a 9. So Trixie is in the driver's seat for Fnatic. If he can stay alive for long enough with that Butterfly, with that BKB, all he needs is a Helm of the Dominator, and he can go for something very aggressive. Dare I say Rapier, but something very aggressive indeed, and I think that's what they need. They need they're in kind of desperation mode here, and if they can just finish, if they can just go for the 1100 extra gold, I believe, to finish up that Butterfly, Trixie can turn this around pretty hardcore. If he can just dish out the damage, as I've said before, on the Phantasms, they can come out on top. But this time, Loda isn't messing around. He's not wasting that Aegis time. He comes down bottom, and despite Hani having that RP, he's going to make sure he has this second life to work with here. Looks like No Tail's doing some really good work with this rank 4 Shadow Poison. The question is whether or not it will be enough. Pushing him back for the moment, but it's just not stacking the way it needs to. And timing, going on Trixie, he gets completely disabled up, does not get a chance to buy, BKB has to buy back immediately, and no, not a Hack's taking some damage as well. There is a quick pickoff, like 2 right clicks on the Shadow Demon to finish that off. Admiral in a bad spot, will get locked down here, but popping off a bit of damage from the cogs, etc. Now, we see Loda trying to finish off that tier 3, but even with that Aegis, he doesn't feel like he can go in here. Same thing with Nada Hax, not wanting to pass the barrier of the spirits and be completely locked down. I believe a Gem of True Sight is on the Coddle. Yeah, another pick-off on Trixie. This is horrible for them. Hani gets the RP they've been looking for, but he doesn't have buyback. He has no AoE damage, so Hani drops as well. Era has the ball away just to survive, but triple kill comes out for Loda, and it just might be it. The tier 3 will be down for sure. The Racks are next, but their only buybacks is on the Nyx Assassin and the Storm, who's already alive. That was horrendous. And oh my gosh, again and again, what are they doing? Loda going in and just getting reality ripped after reality ripped. This range is insane. He gets the rampage, a double rampage. They're just casually feeding him away. And I can't say big throws. I mean, they had to make something happen. Oh my gosh, shitty wizard. But they had to make something happen to finish this off, but over and over, they walk into the reality rift, and Loda, I gotta say, playing that CK the way you have to, playing the cards, and just putting it all on the table, rolling the dice, and the roll that kept on happening was pulling the enemy in. He didn't hook himself into the enemy's position. He actually, every single time, pulled them to him, and once they were pulled out of position, they were just eaten for lunch. But the reason he was fearless to actually commit all those realities, the reason he was willing to jump in and hook himself forward is because he had that Aegis. And the reason he had the Aegis, cause and effect, is because he was uncontested in a single Roshan attempt. So you get every single Roshan you desire, every single time you have this Aegis, and this final opportunity, he gets the Reality Rift on the Gyrocopter, they tether stun him, Chaos Bolt stun him, before the BKB could come out. And since he had lost half his life before even the Magnus could just had any opportunity at all to go in with that reverse polarity, the fight was over already. The Gyrocopter bought back, got picked off the exact same way a second time, because the BKB, I believe, was on cooldown from the first time, but even if it wasn't, it just wasn't up. Trixie getting picked off by 2 tether reality rifts in a row. Use the buyback on one of them, obviously not an option for the second time around, and Trixie, unfortunately, not able to carry their game to victory as No Tidehunter takes the win. They go in and they take it to a 2-0 sweep to Fnatic. In some people's minds, that's a major upset. I mean, obviously, there were some factors with Nada Hack standing in for Fly, but in general, the fact is, No Tidehunter was a little bit on shaky ground prior to the past 2 weeks, and they have been immensely improving, immensely increasing their coordination and using that Wisp, getting the draft they wanted. Like I said at the beginning, this was an amazing draft coming out of S4, picking up so many perfect heroes in such a great lineup to just destroy, and that's exactly what happened. A 35-19 win, a double rampage on a CK. That's all you can get from No Tidehunter versus Fnatic. So really, really awesome game. Still really, really good, even though there was, I wouldn't say throws by Fnatic again. It was just unfortunate pickoffs, but that's the way it goes. They did not get in their opportunity to come back, and instead they were just smothered. No Tidehunter taking the win here. So, with that being the last of this best of 3, since that was game 2, 2-0 in favor of No Tide, we're going to be looking at Ask the Pros on the live stream in just a few minutes here. So I'm going to get one member of No Tidehunter. Was S4 last time, but we'll see exactly who we're going to get on this time around. Either way, it's called Ask the Pros. You guys jump into the live stream and ask your questions when I ask for them. And from there, you will indirectly get to interact and ask exactly what's on the mind. Pick the brain of one of these victors here. So, thank you guys for tuning in. This was great to be able to cast for you guys. If you guys are wondering about me, I'm Blaze. You can find me at twitter.com/blazecasting. But otherwise, I'm the caster for the Premier League, and I'll be signing off for the professional cast for now. We're going to go over to the interviews in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in, guys.